Hey guys, today we're going to work on a breakdown of short form 1 so you guys can practice at home. Short form 1 is just 4 different directions. We're going to go 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 6 o'clock. So it's just a straight line, it's the plus sign, okay? We're going to learn to use 4 of our blocks and to use those blocks timed with our stance changes as well, okay? And those stances are always going to be retreating. We're going to learn what a cover step is today. And I'm just going to go over that quickly before we start the form so people understand what the cover step means, because we're going to do it in 3 different places in this form. And that traditionally is where people have a problem, is learning how to cover step from one side of the room to the other, okay? A cover step means let's say I'm facing you, and right between my feet here is the toe-heel alignment line. Okay, where my toes line up with my heel in the back. That's my center line. That's right at my navel and right between my legs, right here, okay? Now, if somebody's behind me punching on that same line, so their fist is coming straight at my head, okay? If I was to take my foot that's in the back towards 6 o'clock and move it over the line behind my left foot and turn, remember where that center line was? It's at my toe. If I turn, my head is on that line. And look, that punch would hit me right in the face. So that is turning into danger. Again, if I'm facing 12 o'clock with my left foot forward and my right foot, my back foot moves towards my left like this, I cross my legs this way and I turn, that's me walking into danger. Okay? If I was to do the same thing as if you were throwing a punch at me and I was standing the opposite way here, and here comes that right at my ear or the back of my ear here. Okay, my center line. Now I just take my back foot and step over the line, so now my left foot's beyond my right, and I turn, that goes right into my nose. I'm still on the center line. I've turned around, but I'm still on my center line, okay? If I was to take that same theory and use my front foot, so if I'm facing you and here comes that punch on my center line here, if I took my front foot instead and moved it over the line to my right side, and I turn. Now the punch goes right beyond me. I've taken that center line and moved it over. If I do that same thing in phase 6, and here comes that punch here. Again, if I take my back foot and move it over, I walk into the center line. If I take my front foot and move it over, and when I turn, I'm off the center line. The punch goes right by my head. Okay, so that's cover stepping. You always want to cover step with your front foot. The front foot. So when we do that in our form, because we're changing from 12 o'clock to the side angle, it's going to be slightly different. And I'm going to explain that as we go through those, okay? So again, if I'm working from 6 to 12, it's always the front foot. Typically, that's how you're going to cover step unless you're in the form where you just go halfway around the clock or a quarter of the way around the clock. Okay, not halfway, a quarter. So short form 1 starts in an attention stance here. My thumbs are by my side. I go out to my left. And in my head, I count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Now in our school, specifically in our school, we take our hands and make 1 rotation around the clock. We call that stirring the Kempo pot. And I was taught that all the different arts that come together to make Kempo, which is Chinese boxing, which is pretty much karate, judo, we get some boxing in here, we have some Japanese jiu-jitsu, all that mixed together in this pot, we stir it together, okay? And now my left foot, you can see I'm in a horse stance. I need to get into a right neutral bow to start my first descent towards 6 o'clock. So I can't just take this left foot and step straight back, because look how wide my stance is. So if I was to do this here on this line, where the 2 mats meet, the straight line, my left foot is going to come into the center of that line, and now it's going to go straight back. And then I unwind, and there's my right neutral bow. So for the kids class, I like to call that a candy cane step, because you're kind of drawing a candy cane on the floor. Straight back. If you want to take your left foot and go diagonal and find that line, that's appropriate too. It's a little bit harder here because I have to really know where that line is for toe heel alignment. You can see here when I unwind, my toe is in perfect line with my foot. And I've been doing this a long time. So it's a good training method to go from your horse stance around this loop here and come across and then go straight back. And now my right hand is on the reference of hammering here. Because you can see where it was when I was up on my meditating horse. As I step back, it kind of comes to my right just a little bit, and I'm on that line. So when I unwind, my left hand goes to chamber, and my right hand unwinds. Now listen, it's important as we go through this form to get the shell of the form, the directions of where we're going. But it's also just as important to make sure that my toes and my heel are lined up at all times. Because this is the beginning stage of our art. And we want to make sure that our foundation is built early on. So don't worry so much about the direction and not worry about the alignment of my toes, right? I mean, they kind of go hand in hand. You got to get these together at the same time. So when I'm done with the first line, I look down. Yeah, my toes are lined up pretty good right there. Might be even a little bit wide, so I may adjust my stance a little bit to find just a better toe heel alignment, okay? I want to make sure that my left hand is facing my opponent in chamber in a straight line, not way out to the side, straight. I want to make sure that my inward block that I throw at the beginning has a nice 45-degree-ish angle on my forearm. I know we're not measuring here, but it shouldn't be all the way out, it shouldn't be all the way up. It should be somewhere halfway between. That's margin for error. So that is block number one. We're imagining somebody's throwing a straight punch at our face, so I blocked right across my center line. And then when he's done with his left hand, he now steps in with his right hand. So I step back with my right foot. Now, as we're stepping back, we call these step-through reverses. They look like this. But if I was to take a picture halfway between each step-through that I did, there's something in between that. It's called a transitory stance. In transition, my belly button faces forward, and I would land in a cat stance. Now, I would not stop in this cat stance unless I was going to kick somebody, but it's still noted that it's there because my hips need to turn. And my knee turns in case I need to kick, or I kick to the back, okay? But instead, I continue my step through. So it lines up my foot maneuver, which is my step through reverse, okay? Remember, stances and step throughs, or stances and foot maneuvers are different things, okay? Maneuver is the change and the action of the move. The stance is the result of the action, okay? So again, line number one, they throw a punch, I kind of candy cane in, step back in a straight line, unwind, and all these things go into place. Two, I repeat this action on my left side. From point of origin, my hand was at chamber, so it goes straight up across. And there's line one. I just do that, 1, 2, that's it. And now comes the tough part. Because I need to cover step because somebody's coming from 9 o'clock now. Here's my 9 o'clock. Now, I mentioned before with a cover step, I always want to use my front leg. If I use my front leg here, I'm facing 6 o'clock. We're not going to 6 o'clock, we're going to 9 o'clock. So it's a quarter of the way around the clock. So I have to change that a little bit, okay? Now I have to use my back foot. But the result is me getting off the center line. So if he's punching my head right now with a roundhouse punch is coming around to hit me in the side of the face, if I take my front foot and move it, I get hit right there. It's still coming in. I've walked into danger. So ultimately, the objective of a cover step is to not walk on the line, not walk into the line of action, which is the punch, the kick, or the strike. So in this instance, because I'm not going to 6 o'clock from 12 on that straight line, I'm going like an L or a 90-degree angle, I have to use my back leg. But again, as long as I'm getting off that center line, that's okay. So I take my back foot and I step out to 1 o'clock. I step away to 1 o'clock. And now you can see my head is moving away from that center line. So when I turn and my left hand goes vertical, it clears that strike right through my center line just in case I didn't get out of the way fast enough. And now I'm in a left neutral bow facing 9, okay? So I was facing 12, 1, Mississippi 2, Mississippi 3, Mississippi turn, Candy cane step, everything goes into place. 1, I step through reverse, sliding through my cat stance. 2, I look over my shoulder to see what's coming. I see what's coming. I gotta get off that center line, so I step with my back foot, my right foot goes to 1 o'clock. And as I unwind, I clear. I do the same thing on my left side, well actually be my right side. I started on my left on this side. So now as I go backwards, there's my cat stance, my hands switch. Boom. That's line 2. And now for line 3, somebody's coming at 3 o'clock behind me over my shoulder. So once again, I got a cover step. So I cover step by getting off the center line. If I take my front foot and step back, whack right in my face. I've stepped into the line of danger. If I take my front foot here and move it towards about 7 o'clock, 7:30, just step away and I turn. And now I'm off the center line. So the first cover step was my back foot. The second cover step is now my front foot because I went on that straight line. I didn't go a quarter of the way around the clock. I went in 180 degrees or just across that line, right? I was facing 12, and to get to 9, that's a quarter of the clock. So that's my back foot. When I finish line two facing 9 o'clock, if I was going to 3 o'clock, I'd use my back foot. If I was going all the way across that line to 3 o'clock here, if I was going to 6 o'clock, I use my back foot. If I'm going to 3, I have to use my front foot. So there's my cover step. Now I unwind from here and do an upward block. Because now I'm defending against somebody coming over my head. I step through reverse. There's my cat stance, but I don't stop here. I just show that I understand it's between this foot maneuver as I plant. Okay. Now I'm going from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. So again, that's a quarter of the clock. Okay, 15 minutes away. So I got to use my back foot. If I use my front foot, I walk into danger. And unless I had what we call a double factor in the next form, I have to walk away from danger. So from here, I take my left foot, and now I step to 130. You'll notice when we cover step, when I'm working on the plus sign, I always cover step to the 45-degree angle, or the multiplication line, okay? So I step to 130, not too far, because I want to be toe-heel alignment when I unwind. And now I do a downward block. My right hand collapses down in front of my right leg. So right neutral bow facing 6. I go back through reverse. And now, from here, I take my left foot and I step all the way around into my horse and finish. When I started my form, I was here. When I wind up at the end of my form, because of the cover stepping takes me off the line, I wind up one body width over to the side, okay? So that's short form 1. Let me do short form 1 as a walkthrough, facing the camera, then I'll do another one facing my back. This way you guys can follow along, okay? Because I know facing me on camera and practicing is kind of tough because we're backwards. So 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, around. 1, 2, 130, and 3. Now I'm facing 9. 4, look over my shoulder, facing 3. Cover step to 730, unwind. Now I'm in left neutral bow facing 3. Step to reverse, look over my shoulder. I take my left foot to 130. Cover step with my back foot, unwind. Now I'm facing 6. Wind. And now I come back to 12 on my horse. Close. And my tension stance. Okay, now I'm going to face the opposite way, so we're both facing the same direction if you're trying to practice this from home. So here's my 12 o'clock at the TV. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and now I'm going to go all the way back around to 12. Close. And we're done. And that is short form 1. Practice. Thanks, guys.